Hello.
Hello. I'm Abby E. Murray. I'm the editor-in-chief of Collateral, and I'm here today with Ehren Tool. He's an artist, and you may or may not be familiar with his cups. They're just cups, but they're also just cups. Ehren, I want to start by asking who you are.
Yeah, when I read that question, it really threw me off. Like, who am I? Deep, like, I'm Argel's dad, Sarah's husband, David's son, Bill's grandson, Sharon's son. Anyway, I make cups. I work at UC Berkeley. I'm the sphincter of ceramics there. I'm what everything passes through, loading the kilns and firing the kilns. I've made and given away about 25,000 cups since 2001. Mostly to vets and their families, but other folks that like war resonates with. I mean, I'm a Marine Corps veteran of the 91 Gulf War, and so issues of war and violence are close to me, but the military doesn't have a corner on the market of trauma and violence. War is murder, and military sexual trauma is rape, and lots of folks outside the civilian world suffer from those things also, but there's no place to talk about that. So they kind of end up, the cups bring up different things for different people. Yeah. I just make cups. That's who I am, the guy that makes those cups.
You're a guy who makes cups. You're a Marine Corps vet. You got out of the military after a deployment, and you've said before that you sort of fell into art school, but why art school?
Yeah, I mean, I joined the Marine Corps. I wanted to be a cop, right? LAPD, to protect and serve. That that was what I thought I wanted to do. After the Gulf War, I was less interested in like carrying a gun to work. I actually volunteered after the Gulf War, volunteered for embassy duty and had 2 hardship posts back to back. I was in Rome for 15 months and then Paris for 15 months. 100 pounds ago, I looked good in a uniform. But yeah, and then you got out, took the GI Bill, and just was swinging from class to class. But the idea was find something I like to do. I'll do it well, because I do it well, someone will pay me. The pay me thing has been a bigger trick, but maybe I'm still not doing it that well, even though I enjoy it. So all things in time.
Did working with ceramics come naturally? I mean, is that where you started in art?
No, actually, as a young man, I thought being able to take a life was power, but after you see somebody flopping around on the ground bleeding out, you feel like being able to save a life is a bigger thing. So I took an emergency medical technician course and couldn't complete the training because I broke my ankle drinking too much one night. And so I asked if I could I was taking a drawing class, and I asked if I could join the painting class because I couldn't complete, I needed my full units for the GI Bill. Anyway, so Ben Sakaguchi, Japanese American, raised in internment camp, said all art's political, and lumped my work in with the feminist movement as the personal is political. It's like, what the hell? What'd you say? But then he retired, and his best friend was Phil Cornelius, prior Army between Vietnam and Korea. And like, I'm trying to center the clay, right? Marine, and he's prior Army. Look at Big Sergeant Tool getting his ass kicked by 5 pounds of clay. Oh, it's on.
Burn.
But, yeah. Well, he said I couldn't decorate my work, so I went home and made molds and started decorating my work, and I've been doing that now. I mean, that's a long, actually, this might have been one of those, that mold's probably 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
But
why do you say that you couldn't decorate your work even though all work is political?
Okay, so Ben Sakaguchi was the drawing and painting teacher, and Phil Cornelius was the ceramics teacher, and ceramics teacher said you couldn't decorate your work.
Gotcha.
I was like, what? Army can't tell me anything. So, but I think, I swear, like, I think a lot of school for me was like the teachers telling you how it is, or, the writers or the art historian or something. And then me saying, nah, I don't think so. And go in a different direction, just like, okay, is that so? Clement Greenberg, huh? Like, what's your relationship with the CIA? Like, anyway, just, yeah, so I mean, that's the thing I think with art, like, and that was the deal after my disappointment in the Marine Corps. Like, I joined for good and noble reasons. I was going to do good and noble things. The gap between what I thought I was going to do and what I did, kind of vast and painful. And so that kind of gave me the strength actually, to go to school. Because like, what are you going to tell me? I can't do that. This is wrong. This is right. This is. I'm just going to go to school and like see what I want to do with my life. And I was hoping to find something above crass commercial garbage, right?
Mhm.
Like art, science, medicine, religion, those things should be above, just making that money. But wah wah. There's nothing in our culture is above, and so like that too. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead reading through your questions. One of them was like, what kind of art do you like? And I think I like art that, like, if it just says art, then it's white bougie art, and I'm not such a fan. If it's like queer art, if it's vet art, if it's disabled art, if it's black art, if it's Latin art, if it's outsider art, if it's street art, that's interesting to me. But art, not art, is kind of just for everything else. It's like, you know, is God really broke? Does he really need a mega church? Like, do we really need this? Like, whatever. I
So
just
hotel lobby art, not so much.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever, like that, but the artist, and some of that's not fair, right? Like Rothko talking about like his work and what it meant to him. And I sat at a museum and for like half an hour, I just sat in front of a Rothko painting that had natural light and there was cloud cover. So man, things were coming forward and back, and I was like, wow. And when I turned around, there were like 4 guards standing behind me. But so like there's a lot of stuff that I just don't get, and that can be moving, and but it's, I don't know, but I think it is a lot of like the work represent, or it's who it was made for. They didn't make those like 8 by 12-foot paintings for veterans. It's like, maybe for the Raytheon lobby. But anyway, yeah, I don't like talking smack about artists for sure,
But it happens. It happens.
yeah, but I mean, but it shouldn't be like my choices shouldn't reflect, like, because I think that a cup is the appropriate scale to talk about war, doesn't mean that I think people who are making paintings or big sculptures shouldn't, or like that I'm any way, talking smack about them. It's just, I mean, that's the thing with artists, with doctors, with anything you're doing, like, man, I think the best thing you can do is be true to yourself, right? Like, do the thing that you really want. Like, if you're in a situation where you got to make some stuff to sell, I'm not knocking you, make that stuff to sell, right?
Mhm.
There's worse things to do, but don't give up on that stuff that you really want to make, even if it doesn't sell, even if nobody wants to read it. Like, I think it's really important that you make that thing, that makes your heart sing or cry or, or whatever, that like, we don't need any more products. We need like real sincere expressions of being human, and like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think we define art by what it isn't?
Mm. Whoa.
Sorry to drop that in the
Yeah, no.
middle of the conversation, but as you were talking, I was wondering, do I do that? Do I define art by, like, do I as a poet define poetry by what I think poetry isn't? I really feel that, especially for emerging artists, they should beware the artist who will tell you what art is.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they preface it by saying, this is what art is to me.
Right.
You can swing a cat and hit a poet who's willing to tell you what your poetry is and isn't.
Yeah.
And you should beware of anyone who tells you that. However, we all define our own art in our own way, in a way that's productive for us, that allows us to keep making it.
Sure, but I mean that also, we might be wrong though. Like, like, this is what I think my art is. This is who I think. I mean, in the same way, during the '91 Gulf War, like, you know, if I made the movie of myself, I don't think anybody would recognize it. Although Jarhead was pretty good, I gotta say that the book. But anyway, the movie too. But I think a lot of times artists think, you know, oh, look what I made. Like, geez, the stuff I made 20 years ago, phew, if I win the lottery, I'll gladly buy it back and smash that stuff up because I was so proud of it at the time. But man, it's some bad work. And I think it, you know, that continues. That like you know what you know, and you think you're relevant to what you think, you know, but like, you know, and that's the two, like, so criticism, like positive or negative, kind of really is like, yeah, interesting. We'll see what the critics say in 100 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's out of my control, you know, and that's the thing too. Like in grad school, some guest artists came and talked, and their advice was follow your heart. And I was like, oh my God, did we pay this person to come in? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But then people were like, tell me about the trajectory of your career. And I'm like, I kind of just followed my heart. Like, I mean, that's not what I did. Like, I would never say it like that. But like, if you break it down, it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of, this gig felt good. That one felt bad. So I said yes to this and no to that. And,
Hmm.
you know, and yeah, but I really, I mean, going back to the who am I, like, am I an artist? Is it art? Like there's this thing of what art and social practice, is that what I'm doing now? Like, I actually, Ken Price said that when I was in undergrad. He said, we need the division of labor in the arts. He said, if you tried to sell your own work, it would kill you. I mean, that's a man who is selling his stuff for 50 grand at the time. So
I was gonna say he sells his stuff. Yeah.
he has a gallery owner that sells his stuff.
Gotcha.
That you know, and can talk that way. You know, there are definitely parallel universes here, you know, and like people with money, people without money, people with something in between, you know, it's all, there's just parallel worlds.
Yeah. Do you teach? I know you work at UC Berkeley, and I love the phrase the sphincter of ceramics, but do you teach or have you taught?
I'm actually teaching right now. I have 2 classes this summer. It's hard because it's a 6-week class. I mean, to me, the thing about art is community, right? Like that's,
Mhm.
I don't know that like making the little cups or, you know, that's done anything positive for me. Or like, I kind of think that like that Clockwork Orange dude like with the eyes wide open, like, I'm not sure that this is really helping the cause, but the community, you know, finding a community that you can be honest with and that you can talk to, and, you know, that you really love and care for and respect, that's been vital to me. I mean, I met my
Mhm.
wife at the National Ceramics Convention in Las Vegas. You know, like my mother-in-law does clay. We have studios down here in the basement. It's the community that is the big thing. And so like teaching, that's, you know, trying to build that community in 6 weeks with like foreign students and maybe a language barrier. It's been really hard. And because it is like, I mean, I had a professor straight up say, like, you only get 1 or 2 kids in a class of 20 that's worth anything. So focus on them and forget the rest of it. It's like, what?
Wow.
Imagine like a squad leader, like saying, all right, these 2 guys are worth a shit. The rest of them, they're never going to make it in combat. So just like, just back away from them. You don't want, like, but so that's what I try to do is like, you know, think of them like a unit, and like the kids with some experience, hook them up with the kids without some, and, you know, and have them have conversations. Like, I have my story and my thing, but like the students all come from other places all over the world, you know, and they had to jump through all kinds of crazy hoops to be there. And
Mhm.
it's like, don't just listen to me, talk amongst yourselves. Like, you know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Why conversation?
I
Why
mean, well,
cups?
yeah, okay, well, I mean, cups, again, I think that like, you know, Stalin said 1 death is a tragedy, 1,000,000 is a statistic. And it's like 1,000,000 war dead is an incalculable tragedy. Everybody had a mother and a father, and it's gone, and everybody had a potential. And like that too, like even just the, like thinking about the thousands of cups that I've made and the millions of bombs or trillions of bombs that have been made. You know, like, and for what? Like if everything goes according to plan, they will blow up and destroy a bunch of other things, you know, like, I mean, it's, yeah. And we're doing it to protect American lives. You know what protects American lives? American doctors. You know, like killing random people doesn't save other random people. You know, it's like, and whatever, just the money that we spend on it, and like, what are the returns on it? Like, clean water for the planet. Shoot. Anyway. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. That's a good path to go down. I'm trying to think though, why conversation when you were talking about your students and why you teach, and the reason why you teach is community, and the bonds that humans will form whether they like it or not when they're together. We're pack animals, so we form communities when we are together, either in the same space or the same mental space. What does conversation have to do with your art? I mean, I can think of lots of art that doesn't start conversations.
Wow, that's sad. What does the artist think about that? The art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't know, but everything. I mean, yeah, I don't know, right? I mean, I guess like to protect and serve. That's like when I was in my teens, that's what I wanted to do, and still as a big guy, like for my son, what do I want to do? I want to take him and help him, like. And and actually having been a father, I feel like that expands to everything, right? Like even when a full grown man like is screaming and yelling on the street, it's like, oh baby, are you having a bad day? Are you you need a snack? But I mean, because it's obvious, right? I mean, broken people break people. Broken things, it's not, but nobody wants that anyway. So I think like, yeah. LAPD, protect and serve. Marine Corps Rifle Squad, locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver. Right. And so now I'm out. I'm an artist. I still want to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy, but through shared experience and maybe a couple beverages and a conversation. Like, I mean, that was the thing. I got out on embassy duty in Rome, and I was discharged overseas and was coming back through Siena, and was drinking and talking to the waiter, and turned out he was from Jordan, and he got drafted when he was during the 91 Gulf War. He was studying medicine in Iraq, and now he was in Siena studying medicine. So he got off work, or he had a break from work, and took me all around Siena and introduced me to other Gulf War vets from the Iraqi side who were all working bars. Anyway, it's the conversations. That's the conversation, a little empathy, a little insight onto like, I mean, I'm so grateful to the people. And I think too, like having been in the military, right? Like, and so I'll meet like trans people, Black, Native, disabled, whatever, rich, poor, but they're vets. And so like immediately in a bar, in a car dealership, at the subway, immediately there's a conversation and there's a trust, right? And so like my hope too is like through the military connection, I can reach out back into the trans community, reach out back into the Black community, right? And like that, I'm looking around.
I was like, what are you looking for?
Well, there's an image of a, oh, sorry. Anyway, there's a Marine Corps manual, an image of how you like fold up an American flag when somebody passes, and you give it to the family. And I painted one with brown hands. And man, people lost their minds. I was like, what? Like, I was like, I didn't serve in the Marine Corps with any Black guys. They were dark greens, like, but now, like, how can you say they don't, Black lives don't matter? They've been in every war since the beginning, and like we cared about them and they cared about us. And like now you're, Navajo code talkers, like you're gonna there's still no clean water on the reservation. Like, how can, and if you say that like we're America, like, and we're gonna support each other in combat, then like how do we turn it off when we come home, right? We can train together, we can fight together, we can die together, we can be buried together. There's no city in the United States we can all live together. Except maybe on base.
Yeah. Well, and conversation seems like the glue that keeps this all making sense to us.
I mean, that, well, it's it's getting insight into things, right? Like, gosh, I mean, I'm like, again, I'm so grateful to have grown up around so many different weirdo people, like just, and so like things that seem offensive or what's up with that, but then you get to talk to them and like, whatever, going to, to a Black friend's house. Or, this is very Afrocentric, and then I get home and I'm like, what the fuck is all this? It's very Eurocentric, isn't it? It's like, does that bust of Beethoven freak her out the way that like African Warrior freaked me out? Like, like anyway, yeah, it's just, and that's the tragedy. I mean, the thing that, having talked, been to all these, different countries and talked to people who've been through, all kinds of heinous stuff. And, and just like, there's no, right, the line between good and evil is a line in every man's heart, right? There's no like, it's nothing outside. It's that gets normal people to do bad things, right? Like, and that's the thing too, like with in that war context, you just no way to explain it. You haven't slept for a while, friends are dying, you have thoughts that like would never come up, you know, waiting in line at the supermarket, like
Yeah.
anyway.
You've talked before about this being kind of the impossible conversation, or said that, it's impossible to communicate war when you come home, that you can't tell someone this is what it was like, because war isn't like anything. But is art a way to get as close as we can to the impossible conversation?
Yeah, I don't know. I just make cups. But I mean, I did take a great class at Berkeley there. It was called Imaging and Imagining Pain and Suffering. And it was taught by art practice, art history, and health medical sciences. So we had an art historian, an artist, and a medical doctor teach the class. And like, and so for an artist, how does an artist express pain? For a doctor, how does a doctor understand somebody else's pain? Like, is it a smiley face scale? Is it words? Like, how to communicate that thing. And that is, to me, it's just like, shoot, and not even the communication with each other, but just like the planet, and like, like just sort of something with like microorganisms in the soil that need to be there for the plants to grow. Like, what? Like, there's so much stuff to understand. There's so much stuff that like, and so like having people, and I love it. Like, I love at Berkeley, just the conversations you overhear. Some like just like painful nerd, but he's so passionate about whatever the topic is. And you're like, well, that like, I'm sitting there on my bar stool, like, what's he saying? Like, I understand like every third word, like, and none of the formulas, but just hearing them, it feels like it is like art, like good science, good religion, good, it's all like art, right? It's like, it's something moving through you. It's something higher. It's something better. It's not a fucking product, it's something. So
Yeah.
Sorry, whoever has to edit this.
That was a really good center of thought, though. It's art. It's something higher. Something moves through you. It's not a fucking product.
Well, right. I mean, I've been trying. I have this fantasy of doing it, like, of right occupation, like military occupation, like set up a bunker of bags of clay and wheels and concertina wire and big kilns, and then just camp there for like as long as it takes to take the bunker down, right? Take the walls down, and turn them into cups, right? You want to protect yourself, protect your community. So the temptation is to separate yourself, separate your community. But another way to protect yourself, protect your community might be to expand it, right? Destroy your enemy by making your friends. So take the bunker down, turn them into cups, and give the cups away. And then, and that creates some kind of weirdo, like, community of people that have the cups, it's not, and have conversations. And that too, again, with the conversation, it's like, I have stories about all the cups, but what's more interesting is you take the cup back into your life, and then somebody you already know, love, and trust, maybe they can share a story that, might not have come up otherwise. So,
Yeah.
or not, like a lot of times, like, I don't know necessarily the benefit of, there's a lot of stories that I think should die with me, like, nobody needs to know that. No, it's like, stories I've heard or whatever other people, it's like, why do I need to repeat that? And like, that's what I'm trying to do, I guess, too. Like, what, 20 something years into the cups, like now I'm trying to figure out, okay, so now we've done all this, we've been through all this, to what end? Like, and can we really, like, and that's what Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk who lived in Vietnamese, he's talking about veterans being the light at the tip of the flame, that if we can find a way to deal with our pain and trauma, then we can light the path for the rest of the world. So that's a hope.
Yeah. I think hope plays a part in all of art, even though it risks sounding sentimental. But hope is very difficult to deny in the human experience, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There was one of the Paul Solner is a big ceramics, like, American ceramic hero. And I guess he was conscientious objector during World War II and liberated a death camp there as a medic. And the story his daughter told was that in one of these like barracks, somebody had drawn these just like beautiful pictures of like some park scene or something. And he's like, well, fuck it. If these guys can do it on those situations, I sure as hell can make art. So, and another Peter Volkas, who was a Army Air Corps, bombed Japan, and his thing was not the nukes, but firebombing, was said that he was going to make something beautiful every day after having taken part in that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah. But again, like, we're not the only ones, right? Like, a Black man 18 to 30 is statistically safer in the Marine Corps in Afghanistan at the worst part of the war than any large city in the United States. And so then how can we, with a straight face, being we're out here for freedom and democracy, like we have it, I mean, like in the school shootings and stuff, it's like, come on, man, like, this is not, whatever, we can be better. I mean, and too, like, whatever, universal health care, universal basic income, some housing, that would definitely, like, lower the stress level of, like, people who are on the edge anyway, mental health, but then you take their housing, you take their healthcare, and they're going to be in a much worse space.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Seems pretty basic. It seems to me really that you've had a lot of conversations in your life, and especially, these last 20 years, you've had a lot of conversations. Has talking about war always happened for you without too much encouragement? I mean, is it something that kind of comes naturally to you?
Well, I mean, my grandfather was in World War II. My dad was in Vietnam, and neither one of them talked to me about their wars until I came back from mine. And yeah, I mean, it's weird too, because a lot of the cups, I don't feel like they're directly talking about war, but that's how I'm advertised, so that's what they see. But it is, but just like with race stuff or environmental stuff, right? The U.S. military is the largest polluter, and war is definitely the worst polluter. Like, and it's just all such a waste, and the resources and money, like, it's just insane. I don't know. I mean, really, I can tell, like, making the cups is like, okay, we've been talking for a while now. I mean, I gotta go make some cups. I mean, whatever. As we're talking, I'm decorating cups.
I was gonna say, what are you making right now?
Yeah, so I threw these a couple days ago, and then I have stamps that I decorate them with.
Okay.
Sorry, Phil. Yeah, Phil Cornelius. That's like the Planet of the Apes.
That guy.
Yeah. Cornelius was my first ceramics instructor. So.
Yes. Okay. Cornelius was you can't decorate your cups.
Yeah.
Okay. So the cups you made a couple of days ago, they're not quite dry. They're impressionable still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you press different molds.
Yeah. So these are actually a little wet to do deep stuff, but I sign them now, and I put sandbags around the bottom, these little like green army men sandbags.
Oh, cool.
Just because it thins it out a little bit.
Yeah. Who
I'm
are
really,
all these cups for?
I don't know. um, yeah, I don't know. I just, ever since grad school, I've just pretended that I have a show coming up, and I just make work because it's hard. Like, there's potentially a show in September now in Berlin, but it's like, dude, that's coming pretty quick. We got to ship them and fire them, and but
You've made over 25,000 cups.
mm, made
So
and given
that's
away.
over 1,000 a year. What would a show look like?
I mean, it depends on the show and how much heads up they give me. The Craft and Folk Art Museum in Los Angeles, they gave me a show and they're like, do you want a solo show or a group show? And I was like, I guess if you're asking, I want a solo show. But then like for the next, I don't know how many months, I was like working 9 to 5 and then like throwing, and like I would throw until like was falling asleep. And then I'd put a bag of clay on the concrete and lay down. And if I was tired enough, I'd fall asleep, you
Mhm.
know. And but yeah, group shows are more fun anyway. But yeah, for that show, I had 1,300 cups on the
Okay.
wall. But and again, like I think what's more fun though, like I got to go to France. I told them I'd make 2,000, or I'd make 1,000 cups there. But like a couple weeks in, like every day, lunch was 2 hours every day with hard alcohol, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna be able to get this done. So I only made 800 cups there, but
How
but
long did that take?
a month and a half.
Month and a half,
It was
800.
I mean, we were making them in one place and then we did the first firing and then took them someplace else and glazed them. It was a hassle, but whatever, it was a lot of fun. That was
Yeah,
really
sounds like it.
cool. Yeah.
Do all your cups get given away?
Or thrown away or dropped, or you know, I've sold a couple for charity stuff, you know, but whatever, man. They're just cups. Like I had my first show in Los Angeles. The gallery owner said, I'm gonna give you this show even though your work isn't relevant to anything that's going on in Los Angeles. And the
Mhm.
show opened the month after 9/11, and people were like, oh my God, your work is so timely. And whatever, people were all excited about it. I had 1,000 cups with military images and letters I'd sent to the Pentagon and White House. And there was some gallery owner from another gallery, and he was like, all my other artists, they're bitches, man. This was a coup de grace. This was the best show that ever happened in Chinatown. Oh my God, I want to sign you. I want to sign you. And I'm like, if you're talking about your, I didn't say anything, but I was like, no thanks. But if you're talking about other artists that way, like, I don't want to work with you. And whatever. So I was feeling all up about myself, and we went out to dinner and then came home, and walking back to the car, there was like cups with cigarette butts in them and like shards in the gutter, and like, after people have been like crying and telling me these crazy stories and all that. But then like at the end, meh, it's just a cup. So
Yeah.
it's like, keep it. And that's the other thing too, though, as a cup, right? So it can live for a while on a pedestal as big A art, and then the show's over and it's in storage, and then it's a Goodwill, and now it's at some vet's, like, it's the ashtray for, oh, then he passes, and then whatever, it's got like an opportunity to live as art or as a functional thing, or
Mhm.
and that's the thing, I think, really, like, to have your work interact and resonate with people. Emory Douglas, the Black Panther minister of art in Oakland, there, I asked him what he thought success was, and right away he said, when your work resonates with the people, like, no question, no, like. And I've never heard any other artists say that like that's how they feel is success, is when your work resonates with people. But as an artist, I'll say that is absolutely the best feeling, when you're like, I don't want to say make somebody cry, but when you make somebody cry, it's like, whatever, just that it's resonating, that like somebody's getting it. And like, and that, I've had a lot of people that come up and say, like, I don't talk about my experiences in war. I can't talk about my experiences in war.
Mhm.
And a few of them have thanked me, but like, just to have it out there, just have a different, like, I mean, it's true. I think that the people that talk the most about war are liars. It's entertainment and politicians, right?
Mhm.
It's not other vets, not it's not combat vets for sure,
Yeah.
and so that so things get more and more confused and more. And I think, and with so much garbage talk out there, it makes it harder to have honest talk about anything, right? Like,
Mhm.
if you're not like blowing it up as a patriot and like rah 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 rah,
Mhm.
any kind of questioning, like, of the morality or the price you're paying, you know, gets twisted on Facebook anyway into this like,
Yeah.
you pinko lefty.
Yeah.
What? Got a combat action ribbon and honorable discharge. What do you want, man?
Well, to have your work resonate with someone is not guaranteed. I mean, you can sit down with clay at the wheel and know that you're going to make a cup and it's going to take you a certain amount of time and you're going to end up with a cup, but you don't know when you're creating art. I don't know when I'm creating a poem that it's going to resonate with anyone, that it's even going to reach anyone at all.
Right.
And that's a gamble. I mean, that's a risk because that's ultimately what you want the most.
But it seems like the way to get, I mean, okay, nothing guarantees success. So you might as well do stuff you believe in, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
so, and that is, right? Like, I didn't make those cups with the knowledge that 9/11 was going to happen. I didn't make 1,000 cups and send letters to the Pentagon and White House because I knew that was coming. But, and there again, like, you're in the studio making your work and the context around it changes, you know, and if you're working in clay, 500,000 to 1,000,000 years, you know, the context really going to change. And like, you know, and who, like, what is an American Marine? What's that going to mean in 100 years? What's that going to mean in 200? You know, am I going to be in the same show? Like, my cups are going to be with some other veteran from some other country or some other war, right? Now, World War I and Vietnam or the Gulf War seems like a long time away, but it's not, you know, like, actually, I was at the World War I museum in Indianapolis, I think, or Kansas City. Anyway, and there's this map, you know, it's all World War I battles, and these young guys, this young guy all tattooed up, he's like looking at this map really intently, and then he starts laughing. He's like, hey, 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 and he calls over this other buddies, you know, a group of guys, and I kind of snuck in behind. And he's like, dude, this is where we got ambushed, and it was a map from World War I, where the English had been ambushed in Iraq, and these guys was the army unit, and they'd been ambushed in the same place 100 years later.
Wow.
So yeah, whatever. The context changes, and that's the thing I think too. You just like with children or whatever, you love them and you do the best you can with them, and then you let them go. You know, which is friggin' terrifying, but you know, it's
part of
life
the
is
beauty.
pain.
Yeah. Is there something that you still want to do, that you still like? I mean, you were talking earlier about the bunker that you were thinking about building. Is there any, you know, what if time and money were no object? What do you still want to do?
Yeah, make cups. Make cups with people. I mean, and one of the questions you emailed me, it's like, what's your favorite thing to do? And I was like, fuck, is it eat? No. Drink? No. Eat and drink with friends. Eat and drink with new friends. Like, so yeah, eat and drink with new friends. Make cups and eat and drink with new friends. Maybe do some soil remediation, you know, some like small scale farming, like replace all the plastics on a farm with some ceramic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, that's a joke too, is like, you know, there's things I wanted when I was younger, like I want a show here or there. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't have a show there. I would have humiliated myself so badly. Like, you know, so same too, like I just gotta trust that, like, you know, when I'm ready, the thing will happen, you know, like, and two, I mean, talking about conversations, when I left undergrad with Ken Price, I'm like, man, I'm super frustrated because like, I know there's stuff I'm going to want to know. I want to ask you, but I'm not going to be around, or you're not going to be around for me to ask. Like, and he was quiet for a long time. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to think of something good to say. I don't know if he meant positive or like just like deep, but he was like, yeah, it sucks when nobody knows you, nobody knows your work. Obviously, you're broke and you're not selling them. And he's like, it sucks when they do know you because they want you to do that one thing. They want you to make that product over and over again. It's like, it was wild. And actually hearing from a gallery owner too, like this big fancy gallery owner in LA, he's like, hey, come, you know, he came to the show at the Craft and Folk Art Museum. I was like, hey, come to the gallery. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, blowing smoke. But I went and dude, like, hung up his phone. He's like, get the catalogs for, I forget, no, I'm blanking on the name, but he got this whole stack of catalogs out. And it's this German artist who left after World War II, came to the States. and was really political his whole time. And this gallery owner was almost in tears and showing me this guy's work that he had. And he's like, I can't, he's like, I want to give it away. I want to give it to somebody who appreciates it, but I can't. It would destroy the market value of his work, and all his stuff would end up in the dumpster, right? It would. So this frustration of like having to collect it and having to restrict access to it to make it valuable enough that it doesn't all get discarded, the weird. Anyway, so there again with the cups, what a weirdness. Like I'm just like lobbing them into the ocean. like,
Yeah.
like I got them at the Smithsonian, but what? Like maybe that's on the top 5 hits of DC, like when the war comes, they're gonna mushroom. Yeah, I don't know, like, but like, and then too, the cups at the museum are dead. They're just sitting on a wall, all gone, right? The cups that are out in the world, they're still collecting stories and still conversations are happening. Like I don't know that objects actually have like auras or like, that they collect like, but it does feel like that's a more like I give the cup to you, and then when you're gone, the people that care about you will care about the cup because you cared about the cup, right? And so like, and having the work move through the world that way is so much more interesting than like, having it out on consignment or loan from this museum to that museum. Like
Yeah.
I keep quoting my son when he was in diapers. He'd do that all the time. He was always very articulate.
I think the youth know how to respect art and human relationships and express that truth very effectively.
Yes.
I agree. I have an 8-year-old. She does this very often.
Right on. Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, but the boys, he'll be 18 next month. So we could say no for a week for him.
Yeah, you got to enjoy it while you can.
Dude, I like so fast. So like even whatever you were asking for images, and I was looking through images like, oh, that show wasn't that long ago. And I'm like, who's that little boy? That's my son, like, or whatever, or the whatever, pre-beard, or time flies.
Yeah, it really does.
And like what another artist was saying, that art is the possibility of love between strangers. And like, that's kind of cool to me to think like I throw the cup and then put it down, and 500,000 to 1,000,000 years, somebody else picks it up and it's the same cup. Nothing's changed with it, and it's like, that's kind of nice to think about, like sharing a beverage with somebody whose great grandfather hasn't been born yet, and like, and whatever, my grubby little fingerprints on there that like somebody else is going to be able to, high five.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the idea too of recognizing art as working. It's not, it is an object, but when it is in the hands of people, it's working, it's collecting stories. I mean, it's a perfect metaphor with a cup, because a cup does nothing but hold. That's what its sole purpose is. And you said that they're still out collecting stories. I mean, and it's a perfect metaphor. What do you do from a cup? You sip, you take in, you listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lonely ass broke potters, the lip of the cup, the foot of the cup, the neck of the vase, the shoulder of the. They said pottery was in the top 5 jobs for people who don't like people. I do spend a lot of time alone, like, and some mornings, or late night, early morning, like, what the fuck am I doing? And so like, so it is nice when somebody emails out of the cold and just like, hey, want to talk about your stuff? Like, oh, okay. Or,
yeah, sure. I want to talk about your stuff. I hope people love your stuff. I hope people start making their own cups. I hope, you said in an interview once that when you started with drawing and painting, it felt too big, and you felt when you made a cup that it was just a cup, so it was easier. And I really felt like I wanted to buy you a beer and just say thank you, because I feel that way about poems, and writing novels was too big and writing essays was too big, but I can always write a poem. And when people are like, well, I can't write poetry, and I'm like, okay, well then don't write a poem, write me 5 lines. You can say, everybody's got 5 lines of shit to say. I mean, everybody's got 5 lines of words on anything. And that is so true. And it's that connection to art that we so desperately need.
Well, and fuck art, each other. It's it's
Yeah.
I mean, that's the connection when somebody resonates with your poem and like, or whatever. There's a song a buddy sent me. We're both suffering from a little anxiety, and like, and just what a wretched, like, whatever. Just when, but somebody puts it into a song or puts it into, and like, you're like, yeah, that, then maybe, your wife doesn't understand why you're like run around the house at 2 a.m, but like maybe the song can help, and make that connection with my wife that she can, that it can help. So that's connecting with the art and then the people. And then hopefully like the whole, that's the thing too, like when you see like the mushrooms, the little mitochondria, like when you see pictures from space, I'm like, how are we so far, like how can we just not like be hugging on each other all the time, or like trying to like make shit safe for each other, and like, or what, like, I don't know. It's like I'm amazed at how much stuff we ignore, like beauty we ignore all around us, and like and make things worse for no reason, like, or out of fear. I don't know. I think fear and ego, or fear and greed.
Yeah.
And how do you counter that? Like, like even thinking about that dream of like setting up that bunker and being someplace out in the open, like I know that makes you a target, like they have those like safe streets or whatever, and they'll just have like candlelight vigils, somebody got shot or whatever, and somebody will come by and shoot them up again just for, or whatever.
Yeah.
Thank the love.
Yeah. So what do we do in response to that? It seems like we need to make art, little a art, the just cups, the just 5 lines. Yeah.
Yeah, just, and let people, like I like what you said, let them write the 5 lines, like, dude, like trying to teach this class, and I'm like, all right, give me 3 assignments. Like I'm so sick of firing professors assignments that like the students don't want, and goes, I'll fire it 2-3 times and then into the dumpster. Like, ugh, okay, that's cute tchotchke garbage, and I hate it, and makes me want to stab myself in the face, but you love it. And so so there you go. That's your contribution to the archaeological record. Please take it with you. but it's still in the dumpster, it's like, sorry.
Well, Ehren Tool, it's been really fun to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good to virtually meet you.
Yeah.
I'll take you to that beer. I'll bring the cup.
I'm not gonna say